Good evening and welcome to the February 6th meeting of the Barrington Planning Board. Start with the roll call of members present, please.
Jesse, right?
Also with us this evening, we have Vanessa Price, the town planner, and member Irvine, planning and land use administrative assistant. First item is number 3, review and approve minutes. Start with the minutes of January 9th. Comments?
I move that we accept these minutes as written.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Is it 9th or 10th?
9th.
9th.
We also have a 10th.
I wasn't here.
Yep, the LOI.
Jesse, right?
Next one we have is the 10th. Minutes of January 10th. Any corrections, comments? Motion?
I'll make a motion to accept as written.
I'll second that. Roll call.
Yep, the LOI.
Jesse, right?
And finally, minutes of January 25th.
I move to accept the minutes of January 25th as written.
I'll second.
Suchi. The same.
Yep, the LOI.
Jesse, right?
Still on. Thank you. Next, we have staff updates from the town planner.
Just quick things for the board and people that are here tonight. We're also looking for planning board members. So if you would like to lend a hand and help shaping Barrington's future and get involved, we're accepting applications, not just for the planning board, but also zoning board, but there's positions open as well as alternate positions. We do have applications over there. Just getting a plug out for that. And for the board, just to let you guys know that on our upcoming work session, we'll be having subdivision regulations review, some updates from the town engineer, town attorney, and myself, some just minimal updates on that. That's all I had, unless there's any other questions.
Questions? No questions. Next, we have adoption of driveway regulations. Item 4B.
And if you didn't bring them from your meeting last time, I have a few extra copies if anybody would like to look at them.
So, recommending to the select board to accept them, or what are we doing? Okay, is there a motion to approve these? I'll make that motion. Seconded
I'll second
by
it.
Joyce. Roll call.
GI.
Yep, the LOI.
Jesse, right?
Item 5B, Young Road, they have asked for a continuance until March 5th, 2024. No action required, right?
No, we need to have a
All right, motion?
Make a motion, we continue at the March 4th meeting.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Suchi, aye.
Yep, the LOI.
Jesse, right?
Driscoll, aye. Item C1, Hambone LLC. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Christopher Berry, with Berry Surveying and Engineering. Before Vanessa yells at me. Representing the applicant here this evening, the planning board graciously approved our conditional use permit for the proposed use on the parcel. There were a couple of minor plan edits that the planning board had asked us for, add the additional parking, add some additional lamps. In addition to that, I found a little better way to use one of the lamps that we were proposing. If we flipped it to the other side of the road, provided a little more use along the road and also in front of the units. And I believe there were one or two other minor things. I think there was a reference to a garage, which we no longer have on site. And so we've made those revisions, submitted just those pertinent plan sheets back to Vanessa and the board. And I believe that we accomplished everything that we had been asked to do.
Was an HOA agreement that was, need to be done as well?
Yes, the applicant has prepared that and we'll submit that to Barbara and Vanessa for town's attorney review.
Okay, this time I'm going to open it to a public hearing. Any comments or discussions by anybody on this application? Hearing none, I'm closing the public hearing. Any further comments from the board?
So it says here for 7, but you reduced it to 6 units, right?
Should probably,
Change that.
Any more? You want to grab one? Put a 5-minute hold here.
No, you're.
Couldn't see it. Okay, so no public comments.
The only thing here on the notice of decision, it says 7 multifamily and it's 6.
My apologies. I'll correct
Just
that.
so
Thank
that
you.
gets corrected.
and then Mr. Chair, I just pointed out 2 really minor things on the NOD. They probably don't matter much, but I don't think they really need to be part of the notice. There was a comment about a street sign, which we had the signage in the sign in the sign legend and on the site plan. And then there was comments about ensuring the third-party engineers satisfied. We have no outstanding comments with them, so.
Okay. You have any comments on this? How we should?
If you want to remove those 2 comments, if the board's okay with that. The question I have, or the question, not the question, the fire chief, I'm assuming you're meaning item number 7. I know you probably don't have it in front of you maybe, but general and subsequent conditions where it states street view signage shall be 911 compliant and approved by the town of Barrington. Is that what you're referring to, perhaps, that note?
No, in 2E, it discussed street sign. And we have,
Gotcha, street, oh, I see it now. Okay, thank you. Make sure which spot it was. You want me to go ahead and read the notice of
Yep,
decision? Okay.
Please.
At the Barrington Planning Board, February 6, 2024 meeting is conditionally approved the application for case file 253-14-GR and SDAO-23-SR. The application has met all the town ordinances and regulations of the town of Barrington. All the precedent conditions below must be met by the applicant at the expense of the applicant prior to the plans being certified by planning board. Certification of the plans is required prior to commencement of any site work or recording of any plans. Once these precedent conditions are met and the plans are certified, the approval is considered final. Please note, if all the precedent conditions are not met within 12 calendar months of the day of February 6, 2025, the board's approval will be considered to have lapsed unless the mutually agreeable extension has been granted by the board. The conditions precedent are as follows. Number 1, add the following to the plan notes. The waivers at the September 5th, 2023 planning board meeting, the board approved the following waivers. Article 12, table number 1 for minimum road centerline radius, section 4.8.1. Article 12, table number 2, max grade within 100 feet of an intersection, referencing Article 4.8.1. Article 4.8.6, parentheses 2, site distance location of the vertex of the site triangle. At the January 9th, 2024 planning board meeting, the board approved a waiver of a minimum pipe cover for a pipe from CB number 3 and CB number 4. At the January 9th, 2024 planning board meeting, the planning board approved a conditional use permit for multifamily housing in the general residential district. Add the following to the plan: owner signatures, wetland scientist signature, professional surveyor signature, and NHDES permit number. Number 3, provide a detailed engineer estimate of construction cost. If there's any outstanding fees, it shall be paid to the town. Ownership and maintenance of the stormwater system and driveway maintenance of their proposed homeowners association to be approved by the town attorney. The applicant is responsible for attorney fees. The HOA will be recorded at SCRD by the Land Use Department. The applicant is responsible for recording fees. A copy will be on the file of the town's Land Use Department. Prior to obtaining board signature, the applicant shall submit 3 full-size paper copies of the subdivision plans, 1 11x17 copy, and PDFA file format with supporting documents, with a letter explaining how the applicant addressed the conditions of approval to the town's Land Use Department. The planning board chair shall sign and date all plans meeting the conditions of approval. The board shall endorse 3 full-size paper copies of subdivision plans for the records and 1 11x17 copy in PDFA file format for the case file folder. The general and subsequent conditions: where there's no active and substantial work has commenced upon the site, plans that are approved and signed by the board shall expire 2 years from the date a plan is signed. An extension not to exceed 1 year may be granted by majority vote of the board, so as long as it's applied for at least 30 days prior to the expiration date. The board may grant only one such extension for any proposed, it says subdivision, but site plan. Expired plans must be submitted to the board to review to ensure compliance with these and other town ordinances and regulations via the normal application process. In accordance with RSA 674-39, active and substantial development shall mean the expenditure of at least 25% of the infrastructure costs required for a development proposal, as indicated by a subdivision approval by the planning board within 24 months of said approval, where the approved plans have been properly recorded at the Registry of Deeds. Infrastructure shall mean, in this instance, the construction of roads, storm drains, water and sewer facilities, or parking lots. Compliance with this definition should also necessitate that a bond or other security to cover the costs of infrastructure requirements has been posted to the town prior to beginning any construction if required for subdivision or site plan approval. Prior to any construction and before any work on Weekly Pond right-of-way is performed, the applicant shall apply to the select board for permission to work in the right-of-way, and a bond will be required to ensure the right-of-way is returned to its original condition. The developer shall provide surety in the amount to be determined by the town's engineer. Prior to the start of the work, a pre-construction meeting will be held to review procedures, identify responsibilities, and discuss town requirements. This shall occur after the planning board chair or their designee sign the plans approved by the notice of decision. It is the owner's responsibility to contact the land use department to start the process of setting up a pre-construction meeting to include the town planner, town road agent, owner's engineer, and town engineer. All vehicles related to construction are not to be parked on Weekly Pond Road, but within the owner's property. A 30,000-gallon cistern shall be installed and operational prior to a framing permit. Street signage shall be 911 compliant and approved by the town of Barrington. The responsible party will conduct inspections, complete the required maintenance, and will maintain the inspection and maintenance checklists and logs, and will provide copies of the annual report to the town of Barrington Land Use Department by December 15th of each year and made available to NHDES upon request. Upon ownership change, the annual report will include the transferred ownership. At the conclusion of construction, before submittal of as-built, the applicant's engineer, the town engineer, the town road agent, and town planner will conduct a site walk to assess road damages done by the construction for repair. Damages done during construction will be responsible for being corrected and costs borne by the applicant and their engineer. The applicant's engineer shall certify in writing that the improvements have been constructed as approved prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy. The property, Yep, it's in still current use. And current use property is portion of it is in current use. The applicant must provide the town of Barrington assessing department current use map and or other items need to assure requirements of RSA 79A and the New Hampshire Department of Revenue administrator rules are set aside. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best of luck in your project.
Comments, further comments? Oh, notice of decision, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of decision for the 6 multifamily unit.
Roll call?
Suchi, aye.
Capello, aye.
Tessie, aye.
Allard, aye.
Driscoll, aye.
Second.
The motion to approve the NOD, a motion to approve the project.
Conditionally approved.
All right, thank you. Enjoy your night.
Okay,
Goodness,
luck.
could we pause? Do we have more chairs in there? People?
let's get some. Gonna take a 5-minute break.
I don't know if we have that.
And to the audience, we have ordered more chairs.
Chris might want to stay and just for entertainment.
Yeah, right.
Vanessa, Chris is the only guy left, so 2 more kids available.
We've got quite a few people standing though.
Sorry, that's all the chairs that we have. Or we can take these 2 up here. They'll need additional chairs. Nobody wants to sit in front.
I think those 2 chairs in front are available. Yeah, I think they left.
Okay, guess what? We're back in business. Next item is C2. This is lot. Attention, please.
We're going to continue on with the next case file, please, if we could have your attention.
Next application is map 243, 44, and 230 multi-lots 23 design. Owner Carla Williams. Request by the applicant for design review for two conservation subdivisions with 174 plus or minus dwellings on 488 plus or minus acres spaced in Canning-Back Road. Total of 600 plus or minus acres. General residential zoning district by Mr. Razor Landscaping Architect, 86-7 Main Street, Yarmouth, Maine. Welcome. Actually, before you proceed, I have some map here you might want to look at. Might be part of the discussion.
Well, thank you.
Yep. It's two-sided. Yep. Discuss anything. Okay, I'm going to open this again to public comments. Anybody would like to raise your hand? Yeah. Nope. We're going to start right away for public comments.
Yeah, because we're continuing for public comment from the
Continuation
previous
from the last
meeting.
meeting. Just line up or whatever you want to do.
We have a 3-minute limit now.
Yep.
3-minute limit.
Okay.
Point of order, proper limit was 5 minutes.
Our rules of procedure say 3, but, you know, we're generous. If you want to come back for a second time, that's fine. Unless you have 20, 30 people who want to speak, but please don't speak with somebody else. Appreciate it. All right, ready to?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm Doug Bogan. I'm Chair of the Conservation Commission. I previously submitted written comments, which I trust you've all seen. So I won't repeat all them, but I did want to highlight a few important points. This property is certainly a huge opportunity in terms of conservation protection. And the Conservation Commission is very concerned that it does get largely get protected in the future. It is number one, as has been previously mentioned, on our list of areas in the town deserving of protection. And it's really far and above many other sites in terms of the overall conservation values, particularly on the co-occurrence map, just the number of different values that we want to see protected. It's also the largest remaining open space of unfragmented land in the whole town that doesn't currently have any conservation protection. So for that reason alone, we feel it's very, very important. It's certainly top of our list for things needing attention. So we strongly support a conservation subdivision on this land, provided that it's done right. We've seen conservation subdivision developments that we've had issues with, and we want to get this one right, given that it's such a high priority for us. We'd prefer that the town or Southeast Land Trust get ownership of the land, given that there have been concerns in the past with homeowner associations, and given this such a large piece of land and so many important values there. So we really want to maintain the unfragmented quality of this land. And our main concern, really, as others have stated, is the size of the proposed development. We think that the yield plan is problematic in terms of the numbers estimated. There are a lot of areas that really haven't been adequately delineated, the wetlands, the wetland buffers, the ledges and so forth, that we really need to have better information before we could determine how many lots can really be put on that land. So that's a huge concern, and certainly the density of the development areas, that the clusters that are proposed is of concern as well, and particularly in terms of groundwater, water resources. We need to have a better sense of what impact it could have on these very important wetlands, particularly the prime wetlands in the area. So am I out of time? So,
Give you another minute.
and I'll just to summarize, I mean, our what we're really wanting to see, in addition to better detail on the wetlands and the wetland buffers, is that there be a full environmental impact assessment done on the project. We like also see hydrogeological study, again, because of the very critical water resources involved. We'd also like to see a wildlife management study because this area is also considered a very important transit area for wildlife throughout the region. So we do hope that we can come up with a plan that is acceptable to everybody, and that we can preserve these very important environmental values that we all love in our town. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Please come forward.
Visual aids for you folks. Sorry I didn't make one for each of you.
Okay, we can share. Thank you. Sure. Yep. Okay.
I just need one for the file that they can look at.
What I have done, excuse me, Colin Williams, 94 Old Settlers Road, a butter. What I've done there is taken the overlay that the developer has provided and done another overlay of the existing soils that are there and included descriptions of the soils. And what I did not have a chance to print out is page 78 through, I think it's 82, which of the Stratford County Soil Survey of 1973, which says that all of the illustrated soils have severe limitations for foundation. Oh, he's got it right there. For foundations, septic systems, and roadways. And to call the yield plan realistic to come up with a number of 175 houses is, to my mind, nonsense. If you look at all the Paxton D soils, the finishing description of it says that effluent, if you build a septic system here, effluent will escape, and they are all immediately adjacent to the prime wetlands. So if you want to have, 60 housing units with their septic tanks leaking into the wetlands, not a very good idea. I will also point out that there are 6 prime wetlands crossings, including over 1,000 feet of road that is built in the wetlands buffer of a prime wetland. And in this bottleneck here, the buffers overlap, so you're getting a double penalty. Additional crossings here, and I thought about this at the last meeting. I believe it was 1990 or 91. I tried to have a bridge put in here so that we had better access to this backland. Died because it would have too much of an impact on the wetlands. So to think that they're going to have 5 other crossings when one was denied is fantasy. I won't take up too much more time. Oh, one other. For this cluster of 7 buildings, this soil here, water table is listed as 6 to 12. Direction, realistic yield plan takes into all these. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
Sorry, I don't have coffee.
Oh, that's fine.
Good evening. My name is Marie Pelletier of 15 Old Settlers Road, and I am not an abutter. But I'm actually here to speak on behalf of Henry Peterman of Canaan Road. He wishes he could be here for this meeting, but his military service requires him to be out of the state. Having 2 children, a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old, makes him concerned for the burden his development could have on our schools. He is concerned not just for staffing, but with our schools, but with what our schools will be able to handle. Using the NASDAQ demographic study overview, what is the impact of the current Barrington residential construction, and when will we feel it in our schools? Henry has come up with the below findings. In 2020, the demographic study was done in relation to the school growth. He just wanted to point out a few of the things to the planning board and this community. In 2000 to 2020, Barrington has grown by 1,851 residents. The current major developments being built plus Coop Farm could bring in over 800 residents. 235 referenced in this projection, plus 174 on Coot with 2.4 average per home. This entire projection by the demographic study is taking into account 160 homes, which is recommending in an impact on the schools as followed. Grades K through 4 would add 1.5 to 4 classes needed. Grade 5 to 8, 0.51 classes needed. Grade 9 to 12, 100,000 to 200,000 additionals needed. These 160 homes account for 3 categories of approved projects under construction. 75 home units approved in the pipeline, 80 home units, and approved not under construction, 80 units. Now let's look at the additional 174 homes to this initial assessment the town has already developed. These numbers are just estimates based off of what the information was provided in the demographic study. Grades K through 4 will need 3 to 7 classrooms added. Grades 5 to 8 will need 1 to 2 classrooms added. Grade 9 to 12 costs an additional $200,000 to $400,000 in the town. Now let's take one more look at the numbers. Cost per pupil, elementary is $16,000, middle 9 to 12 is $17.5 thousand, Dover $14,000, Oyster River $18.3 thousand, and Co-Brown $18,000. Cost of adding 100 students, elementary $1.6 million, middle $1.755 million, 9 to 12 Dover $1.41 million, Oyster River $1.8 million, Co-Brown $1.9 million. In addition, one of the goals of the proposed development is affordable housing. This equates to lower property tax for the homes, which means less funding to cover the cost of the additional students. Given a school tax rate of 13.62, a home would need to be valued at over 1.17 million or 1.17 million to pay for one elementary student and over 1.35 million to pay for one Oyster River student. Now let's talk about briefly the children before the age of 5.
Give you 1 minute, please.
Yep. Let's talk about briefly about the children before the age of 5. There is a serious daycare shortage in this state. The largest daycare in Barrington does not even have enough staff. Any new children due to the staffing shortage. Every accredited daycare within 20 miles of Barrington has over a year waiting list. And that is based on even if they can accept any children. This is a very large struggle on the community and is not brought up enough. And he says, thank you for your time. And he'll be here next time. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Sure. Could you pass that down for the? Yeah, thanks. Okay.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Christopher Betcherman. I'm a retired medical doctor with specialty board certification in emergency medicine. In 1999, I retired from the practice of emergency medicine to 216 Canaanback Road in Barrington. If I learned anything during my 27 years in the emergency department, it was that minutes matter when human welfare is on the line. Regarding the proposal to subdivide the Coot Farm and erect 174 residences there, I doubt one could have placed the residents of the proposed Coot Farm any further from the building where the Barrington ambulances are garaged or further from the emergency departments of Wentworth Douglas or Portsmouth Hospital. Make no mistake about it, The remote location of the proposed 174 residences will put the welfare and lives of those living there at risk. Some of those living there will be gravely harmed by the remote location, and some will die. Mutual aid agreements between Barrington and Stratford, as well as between Barrington and Northwood, may change ambulance transit times marginally and spread the town cost of ambulance service to the residents of the proposed Coot Farm subdivision among 3 towns. One additional small comment I'd like to make is regarding the Coot Farm subdivision. In the spring of 2023, my wife and I broke 2 suspension springs in our Volkswagen on Canonback Road. We subsequently traded that car against a 2022 Subaru, looking for more ground clearance and all-wheel drive to get out of the road in the wintertime and in the spring. What this subdivision will do to the road is incomprehensible. It will not handle the load of cars as it is right now. We're talking about a major construction effort to bring the road up to the level that it would have to be for the number of cars that will be traveling with that subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on this matter?
Daniel Lear, taxpayer, 334 Old Concord Turnpike. I'm just wondering about the Nippo Road Association with the lake and stuff. They're doing all extensive work on the lake. They're not really a direct abutter, but they will have helpful of this. I don't know if they've been notified. Maybe someone could, I don't know if anyone's in the public.
Are you talking about their impact
Nippo.
on Route 9?
No, the water flow into the lake. They spent grants cleaning up on Nippo Lake.
Yeah, I don't,
They're not a direct abutter, but the water does flow to them, I believe.
right. I suppose it could be some, well, Nippo Brook flows north.
I'm just wondering if anyone in the public is here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody else would like to speak? Did you want to speak, Linda?
I was going to give some testimony, but I might as well just. Yes, we're concerned on Nippo.
Before you come up here, because it won't.
You need the mic.
I have a loud voice, so I don't know. I don't want to get that feedback like a town meeting the other day. All right, so just around the Nippo thing, the Nippo Lake, the wetlands that are there go that way.
Okay.
And so it's not point A to point B, but it will definitely have an adverse impact if anything happens to those wetlands. The reason I'm here is along with Jay Corcoran back there, we own the other half of Nippo Hill.
Mhm.
And so Nippo Hill is about 550 feet high. It's a rock. It comes down. These wetlands come and they go between Nippo and Brown Hill and eventually into Nippo Brook, so forth. So, I mean, that's why I think what they talked about a hydrogeographical, not geographical, you know what I mean? Geological. I want to just say I submitted written testimony around the scattered and premature development, and I just want to bring that to the forefront because this is what some of my colleagues back here have mentioned. And because whether there's 180 units, which is impossible, and down to 174, by virtue of what kinds of units they are, how many of them and where they're located, clearly it's going to outpace the capacity of Barrington's public infrastructure, emergency services, waste, transportation, recreation, schools, et cetera, to support the health and safety of our community, as well as anybody new that moves in there. I mean, there's only like 15 or 20 houses along that. I think 20 is a high number. You guys probably know back there. And it's also, as people have said, going to affect Stratford and Barrington. And I just want to put on the record here that we wisely state in our subdivision regulations, the first purpose is to prevent scattered and premature development. That the article reads that to provide against such scattered or premature subdivision of land as would involve danger or injury to the health, safety, or prosperity by reason of the lack of water supply, drainage, transportation, schools, as somebody's talked about, public services, etc., or necessitate the excessive expenditure of public funds for the supply of such services. And we provide in our regulation for regional impacts and to be able to understand it. And our regulations also state that the planning board at its discretion will not approve scattered or premature development that would impose danger or injury to the general public health, et cetera, et cetera. Nor will the board approve such development which will necessitate an excessive expenditure of public funds for the supply of such services. As defined in our regulations, a scattered and premature development is one that poses a danger to the public through insufficiency of services. This is what the good doctor just talked about, is what the lady talked about around the schools, and I'm going to run out of time here. Anyway.
Give me a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just quickly, I just want to, this is really important, and I've been looking into this, and I just don't understand exactly where this comes into play, whether it's post an application or it's a pre, and I don't know how that all works. And I really, one of my recommendations is I'm hopeful that you guys will figure out and to know what kind of information to request from the developer such that you would be able to make that decision. Because, of course, this is just an opinion. As people have talked about that road, if any of you guys have ever been over there after that rainstorm we had a few months ago, or during mud season, and as somebody says, you know, you hardly can get through there, and it's a scenic road, it's bounded, you can't do much. You have the authority as a planning board to change that, but I think there are public safety issues. I did a little thing where I drove my car on Route 9 over to the furthest part. It took me 20 or 30 minutes on Route 9. So that means Stratford's going to get the calls. So I just feel that is the thing that we most, along with all the environmental impact. One thing I wanted to raise up, just one last thing.
Okay, one thought.
One thought. Our regulations provide that the application of these regulations to prevent scattered or premature development shall include consideration of the highest and best use of a particular tract of land, the compatibility of a particular use with the remainder of the community, and the protection of the financial interests of the purchaser, subdivision, providers, and local government. As Mr. Razor has said, and so did the conservation, this is a high priority, unfragmented. When you have unfragmented, it means nobody's developed in there. And that's why there's all those different kinds of species and trees, and you've never developed in there. So that's what the importance is. And that's why I think that it would be, before proceeding to a subdivision application, the potential to conserve this whole property should be deeply explored. And we have the regulatory rationale and direction to have that happen. So anyway, thank you
very much. Would anybody else like to speak on this?
Good evening, Charles Burnham. I'm the first house in Stratford where Canonback Road ends. I've been there for over 32 years, quite familiar with the area. First of all, let me say unofficially, I'm not speaking for Stratford, but I have talked to the planning board and I've talked to the selectmen, and both are quite concerned about the impact. There's a regional effect here on Northwood, Stratford, even Nottingham. You probably know that Cannon and Stratford is also a scenic road per the RSA. So the planning board is concerned of the huge effect on Back Canyon Road. Secondly, the selectmen are concerned on the ability for Stratford to provide both ambulance and fire. Your own Chief Walker has made the statement that Stratford people can get there faster than Barrington by quite a bit. So this is a cost impact on Stratford that we're not really prepared for. The only other thing I would comment on is, having looked at many times at the intersection on Canaan Back Road to 202 and 9, there is major work that needs to be done to bring that up to grade so that this increase in traffic can get on and off 202 and 9. Some years ago, and I tried to look this up, it's probably over 10 years ago, where you first leave 202, the culvert there washed out. There was a ditch across the road that was 6 feet or more deep. This took some time to fill in, get the road back and running. So not only is this going to be expensive, you're going to have to hire consulting engineers to redesign it. On the southwest corner of that intersection is a cemetery right there. On the northeast side, you've got the Canaan Chapel. So I've talked to some people in the road construction business. I thought it would be $1 million. They're saying it's closer to $2 million to redesign that intersection and bring it up to grade, because Canaan Back Road is going to have to be elevated somewhat back so that it is somewhat in line with the pavement on 202 and 9. That's a major cost impact, and I hope that you're thinking that the developer is going to share in that. So, thank you.
I'm sorry, sir. Can we just get your address for the record? She didn't get your name and address for the record. I'm sorry. Thank you.
188 Back Canaan.
Anybody else like to speak?
I think we had young woman.
Good evening.
Hi. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Molly Booty, and I live at 87 Canaan Back Road, which is the farmhouse directly across from this area. I have lived there since the age of 3, and my family has lived there for 10 generations. I wanted to speak briefly to express my concerns regarding the proposal. These concerns include environmental concerns as well as practical concerns such as traffic increase and altering the character of our road. Firstly, I question the adherence to Barrington zoning policy. Zoning policy states that conservation subdivisions should maintain and protect Barrington's rural character by preserving scenic views and minimizing views of new development from existing streets. It also notes that there should be a minimization of development on steep slopes. It is clear to me that this plan will significantly alter the current landscape. It will not minimize views from existing streets. In fact, if you look at the plan, proposed lots fall near existing streets. Additionally, much of this land includes steep slopes, and development would undoubtedly include these slopes. I live in a quiet, rather undeveloped section of Barrington, and a major development like this is a drastic shift which does not align with Barrington's master plan or subdivision policy. I now want to address the wetlands of this area. The wetland here is designated as prime wetland. Only 6% of Barrington is designated as prime wetland, and Barrington is one of the few New Hampshire towns with prime wetland. Prime wetlands are of substantial significance to the community, even more so than non-prime wetland, and are vital to sustaining populations of rare or threatened plant and animal species. This section of land that we are discussing is a substantial part of Barrington's prime wetlands. In Barrington, a minimum buffer of 100 feet shall be required from the edge of the wetland, and the planning board may require a larger buffer around a prime wetland. There are several areas on this plan that I believe either struggle to achieve the 100-foot buffer or are strong contenders for areas where the planning board should require a larger buffer. I would like to briefly mention the proposed open space in the design. This open space is actually required of a conservation subdivision, and this allows the area to bypass the typical low density requirement for our zoning district. Any area that is defined as undevelopable, such as wetland soils or steep slopes, cannot constitute a majority of the proposed open space. I would argue that the land said to be open in this plan is either wetland or has steep slopes. Another important aspect of this land is its status as unfragmented land, which others have mentioned, due to its large acreage, uninterrupted by development or public roads. Unfragmented land is valuable, as some species cannot live successfully on small chunks of land and need these large sections of uninterrupted land. This is one of the largest unfragmented land sections of Barrington, and the development placed directly next to this open space separates the land. The proposed wildlife corridor mentioned in the plan does not change the fact that this land will become fragmented and will no longer be suitable for certain species. The planning board does have discretion when it comes to the amount of required open space and can ask that the plan include more, and I would urge them to do so to prevent fragmentation of the land and to protect the prime wetlands that exist here. I've just got a paragraph left.
Sure.
As a final note, I have concerns about the traffic increase and population increase on the road. Our road currently has only a handful of homes on it. I don't know the exact number, but 174 dwellings would certainly be more than double the current population of our road. Our road is a dirt road with an exit onto Route 9. This development would lead to issues with getting onto Route 9. In addition, these dwellings would need access to usable well water. It is difficult to know what this plan would be for well water. Canaan Back Road is also a scenic road, and there are protections afforded to scenic roads that should be considered. In summation, I see issues with the plan in terms of preserving the character of our road. Development here makes little sense and would undoubtedly harm the valuable and rare prime wetland that exists on the property. There is a clear issue with visibility from the road and buffering distances. The proposal would completely change the character of this area of Barrington, and I would be devastated to see it happen. Thank you for listening.
Tough act to follow. So my name is Patrick Booty. I live at 87 Canaan Back Road. It's Elmwood Farm. The Booty family do not call it the Booty Farm, but that's what the locals seem to call it. It'd be kind of odd if we did. But so if I'm not on the farm with the family and the 12 belted Galloway cattle, or volunteering for the Barrington Fire Department, I work for the Dover School District, and I've been doing that for over 30 years. 20 of those years have been an administrator both at the high school and at the elementary level, where I have seen successful and not successful workforce housing and large developments in Dover. Even Dover has places that don't do well. They've even tried city within a city. They've tried some creative ways to see what works. So I can tell you what doesn't work. And one of the things that hasn't been mentioned yet is the social infrastructure. You heard a little bit about it from one person already that said about the children before they go to public school, which is very true. But there's other things as well. Like there's sort of this unofficial rule in New England, every 500 inhabitants, you need a Dunkin' Donuts or an Aroma Joe's. But the reality is you need a lot more than that. You need things for do after school for children that's sort of local and nearby. And you also need convenience stores, gas stations, and grocery stores that can handle that amount of more inhabitants. So, but let's say you magically had that. You really wouldn't be able to have that in this section, in the Canaan section, because there's no places to put that social infrastructure. If you're familiar with that part of town, there's already the Stonehouse Selt, there's conservation easements like our farm is in. There's also a lot of swamp and wetlands that are not buildable for the social infrastructure. And I just want to throw out a word of caution. Other communities around Barrington have tried and it hasn't worked. I'm really concerned about the workforce housing because that's very specific. It's not just a bunch of houses put into an area, no matter how much you spread it out over what you can of the 600 acres. If you don't have that social infrastructure, no plan's going to work. It's specifically that would be concerning for workforce housing. So that's all I can add.
Any more comments? Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Mike Kamir. I live at number 237 Canaan Back Road. I'd like to speak to you further about the proposed coot farm development we'll have on the area and how it will affect the surrounding communities. The Stratford Regional Planning Commission impact guidelines lists several areas to consider for regional impacts. Some of these are traffic, facilities, ecology and resources, public safety, and population growth. The traffic on increase on Canaan Back Road will be dramatic. On the Barrington end of the road, there are narrow points where it's difficult to pass two cars. One of those points is in front of my property. It's called Durgan Hill. If you have two cars coming, one coming down and one going up, you're looking to where you can get over against the bank so that you can let the other car pass. The current road agent, I believe, is doing an exceptional job compared to the way it used to be 25 years ago. It's much better than it used to be. We have the full width of the road, but even with that, you essentially have to have one vehicle stop to let the other one go through. The Stratford end of the road is also going to be impacted because it has some narrow areas and a 90-degree bend. There will be extra traffic on both routes 9 and 202A. This will lead to more traffic going both into Stratford and Northwood. The towns of Stratford, the facilities, the towns of Stratford, Northwood, and Nottingham could be called upon to provide some of the emergency services. Stratford Fire Department and, of course, their ambulance will be affected because they have the closest equipment to this proposed site. As far as ecology and resources, the water aquifer in the immediate area will be affected by the withdrawal of thousands of gallons of water each and every day. The aquifer and surrounding areas could be affected, and if we recall from a few years ago, this was the concern with USA Springs, how they were going to affect the regional aquifer. Population growth, with the increase of several hundred new people living in Barrington, the population of students at the Barrington schools will increase dramatically. This will also affect Dover, Durham, and Northwood as we send our students to those schools. So with all of this in mind, we would like to request that a regional impact study be conducted before this proposal be allowed to move forward. With that, I thank you for your time.
Anybody else like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, I do see two people online.
All right.
I'd like to see
them
if
up.
they're, if you're online and would like to make a public comment for or against this application or would like to say anything, please raise your hand or take yourself off mute, and we'll give you a moment to respond in case you do. Mr. Chairman, I do not think the people online would like to respond at this time.
Okay. Second chance. Anybody want to speak? Yeah, I'm going to close. Oh, wait a minute. One more. Yeah, I know. I said he could come back. Yeah, I know.
Good evening. My name is Paul Clem. I live at 259 Canonback Road. I wasn't going to speak, but I will. One of the concerns I'd like to raise is the issue of, obviously, we've talked before about there could be 1,000 more car trips on Canonback Road and Back Canaan Road daily basis if this is going through in the way that it's currently proposed. If that were to happen, then it seems unlikely that the road would be able to remain unpaved, which is something that most of the residents that I know of do not want to have happen. But if it is to be paved, then the road would have to obviously be up to code and up to standards. And there are places in that road where it is very narrow, where there are stone walls very close encroaching upon the road, which leads to the potential for there to be the need for eminent domain for a taking, and which may lead to a problem about whether or not you can take private property for a private purpose, which could lead to some difficulties down the road. Obviously then, where the Zielfelders and Pat Morse lives, where it gets very narrow and there's a hill, that would obviously have to be flattened out and to have less of a blind spot for people coming in both ways. Even on the Back Canaan side, there's a very sharp right-handed turn, and if you're adding 1,000 car trips a day, there's a problem with that, especially since those of us who live on the road have all slipped as we go around that corner. And so there are a lot of dangers that go in. But the biggest problem is the cost. The cost is, under Article 8, you can apportion the cost, and the cost here will be extremely large. I am not an estimator, I do not know, but I would imagine it would be a very substantial cost, and then who's going to allocate the cost? Is the applicant going to have to pay that cost, or are we as taxpayers going to have to absorb that cost for the sake of this developer to earn profit? I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
You want to, I'll give you another minute, couple of minutes if you have something to add.
I would also ask for an endangered species impact study. I will testify that it is, the marsh systems are inhabited by Blanding's turtles, which are on the New Hampshire endangered list, as well as wood turtles and spotted turtles, which are both threatened. I help them across the road when they come up to lay their eggs. And there are numerous spots on both Canaan Back Road and Old Settlers Road where I have done that over the years. And I have photographic proof because I take pictures of them and send it to the Conservation Fish and Game Department,
Game.
Non-game, thank you, species. And the other thing is there an email? I can send you 2 pictures of the washouts.
Yeah. How would you send things to you? Just.
I think we've seen 2 pictures.
Yeah, if you want to email it, you can always email it to planning@barrington.nh.gov, or you can stop by our office, or you can email it to me directly.
They're pretty dramatic, and I'm standing at the bottom of the washout, and the road surface is over my head. So that's what.
Thank you. Okay, closing public comment. Mr. Razor. You can, and I have some comments.
Great, thanks. I want to thank everyone for their comments. Definitely helps improve a plan as it moves along to have good informed comments that help shape things for the better. Wanted to also thank the road commissioner for meeting us on the site and giving us lots of good, solid feedback regarding any proposal in the area, as well as the fire chief for meeting with us to review the plan, talk about all his concerns and how we could best address his concerns. Also, we had meetings with Fish and Game. We've met with CELT and want to thank them for their time and all their positive impact or informed information that's helped us improve the plan and make the project move forward. And so we're very appreciative of the board taking the time to review the project, and definitely look for your guidance tonight as we move forward.
Okay. Thank you. Members of the board have some comments?
I have just a couple of comments.
Sure.
Can you make sure your microphone?
Apparently I need a reminder every time. The number of units starts with the yield plan. And you've heard a number of comments on the yield plan, but I think also, if I look at this, the conventional yield plan, we have lot shape requirements that I think some of these lots violate. We need a 3-to-1 ratio. You can't go off of that, and some of those clearly have that problem.
Could you have those marked up and forwarded to me? I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you. That way I can directly address those for you.
Well, Thanks. I think the regulations are there. You should make sure that the yield plan conforms with those. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And also, normally when we look at yield plan, we like to make sure the building can be sited, and then you also need to make sure you meet the driveway regulations with 10% slope. For example, all these lots right here with the buffer in the back, very steep slopes right there. I mean, I look at those lots and I don't think they're developable because I don't think you can get the driveways in there and meet the 10% maximum slope with a 2% negative. And I see that kind of situation with a lot of these. So normally when we get a yield plan, there's a house, a building envelope on it. It shows meets the setback and that kind of stuff. But in these cases, we have such steep slopes. I think you need to put a driveway in to make sure you can driveway can make it, because I look at these and I see a lot of lots that if you presented this plan as a conventional subdivision plan, I think there's no way we would approve it. And first of all, I don't think you'd present it because it's not cost effective. As someone mentioned before, you have 5 bridges, and the bridge on Green Hill was over $2 million. So I don't think you'd present a conventional subdivision plan that had 5 bridges going over brooks. So I don't think that's reasonable. So I mean, this plan you present, you've heard other things with you need to have 60,000 square feet of free of soils, 35,000 square feet of upland, and then you need a wetlands delineation and things like that. So this plan that you presented, I think, is where it starts. But looking at this plan, I mean, I look at this and I say, there's no way.
Yeah, and at the last meeting, I requested, and it'd be really helpful for us so we all be on the same page, if you could provide us with a previous yield study that you thought was sufficient. That way we're meeting your expectations as we move forward. So if the planning board could provide us with a yield study that you thought was a good yield study, I think that would help everyone get on the same page very quickly.
We're closed. Public hearing's closed.
And so if that's possible, I think that'd be a great way for us to communicate expectations. So I'd appreciate that very much. Thanks.
I'll mention that.
It'd be really helpful. Because I think you said last meeting you spent like 14 months developing a yield plan, and so that one must have been thoroughly reviewed. It'd be great to have.
Well, it was
a
only
copy of that.
23 lots.
Well, it'd be great. I'm just saying I think it'd be helpful for us to be on the same page as you and to meet your expectations. We absolutely need to meet your expectations, of course.
Anybody else have comments on the board?
Yeah, I do. So definitely, and I'm. Is your microphone? Yep, it is. Can you not hear me?
No, that's why I was asking.
All right, can you hear me now? So I definitely want to know what your, there's 2 things I'd like to ask is the impact on the environment. That is really important. If you could, the studies of for the residents that's already on that land that can't speak for themselves, that are going to be homeless. And I'm not a tree hugger, but this is something that's very important to me. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm also worried about the impact on our schools and childcare. You can bring all those houses in with all those beautiful children and families. Most towns worry about children that are 5 years to 12, to 18. There's a large population that are from 6 weeks to 5 years old that need housing, they need help, they need a place to go. We don't have it. We don't have the teachers. So these are things that I'd like you to present in some way of what your expectations of this town would be for that. Okay.
So you're saying we're going to require a school impact study?
That would probably, am I allowed to ask for that?
I thought that's what you were just saying right then.
Well,
I'm just trying to clarify what we're asking.
I mean, we can discuss as a board during a work session or something,
right,
but.
Right, the more
That more development comes through.
I think we concentrate mainly on a lot of what's in our book, which is true. We need to look what's in our book. I mean, these good people are supposed to be voting in March to tell us what they want. And then when something this comes up, they get panicky and they don't realize they should have voted what they thought. I'm speaking for families that I deal with daily that don't have childcare or a place to go. And in public community, like our police department, I want to know what these big projects come in, what their intent is, not to build and run and leave us with a mess. So I think if we ask people, we ask contractors to come in, if you want to build, give us reason and support. Don't just build and leave.
You asked about prior subdivisions. It's very common that we've required stormwater and drainage analysis, environmental, traffic, hydrogeological, wildlife, and this one would definitely require regional.
Oh, yep, sure. as part of the subdivision plan. That's correct, yeah. Absolutely. Thank
And I think I'll just reiterate what Ron said, which is, looking at the initial plan, it looks like a dream.
This
And,
plan.
yeah, and you've really got to, the yield plan.
Oh, I thought.
The
can we speak to
yield
this
plan, and you've really got to take the time to get the wetland delineations, the slopes and all of that done to truly see what kind of numbers we're talking about.
Yeah, that work is not complete. That's correct. That's correct. Thanks.
I have one or two comments. Some of this will be redundant from what's been spoken before. Coop Farm, this proposal is the largest ever presented in the town, in one of the most sensitive areas in the town. Probably will require a DRI, Development of Regional Impact, affecting Stratford, Northwood, and Nottingham. The closest groceries, pharmacies, gas, bank, and pizza, you have to go to Northwood. If you want to go to Lee's Circle, go to Nottingham. Stratford has Bow Lake and Route 202A, which Canaan-Back Road in Stratford leads to get to the Rochester area, which has major retail. Also, New Hampshire DOT will have a lot to say about the intersection with Route 9202. And as has been mentioned, major rebuild on that. There have been similar situations where they would require a traffic light too. You, of course, would do the traffic light.
Oh, if it's traffic signals warranted?
Yeah, Canaan-Back Road, your proposal is going to increase the traffic by 1,000%. It's about 17 houses now.
Yeah, we haven't done a traffic impact study yet.
Well,
I apologize.
Right, no, but I'm just mentioning.
Yeah, we haven't done, we have a consultant, but we haven't done the work.
Okay, and your frontage on the road is about 3,500 square feet. It's 3,500 linear feet. RSA 674-21, subsection Roman numeral 5, parentheses J. Town may seek offsite improvements called exactions to improve the road. So just you're aware of that. The board could ask you to.
For 9 or Coop? I mean, Canaan-Back.
Yeah, Canaan-Back Road, where you have the 3,500 square foot frontage on that square foot linear frontage. Okay. Also, even on Old Settlers Road, it's about a 300% increase in traffic you're talking about from the dead end side across Bruce Brook. So that is a major impact on that road too. You're proposing 14 units, and there are 5 units currently houses. So it's a great increase in the impact on that road. And they're planning to build a bridge at there, and the town's cost is about $220,000. So there might be some request to assist with that too.
I apologize. Did you say they're building a new bridge there?
2025, they're going to put a bridge in.
Replacing.
Or replacing a bridge.
Well, there's no bridge now. There's a culvert that's been washed out 3 times in the not too distant past.
I'll follow up on that. Thanks.
Now, the nature of the area, the town's co-occurrence map shows that 7 areas are greatly worthy of greater protection. And this particular one is rated number 1. That's the map I gave you.
I'm very much aware of that map. Thank you.
Okay. It has 2 prime wetlands, which has been mentioned, and there is buffers involved. But under 9.5 parentheses 2, the zoning board could increase the buffer. There's a criteria, if you look that up in the zoning. If certain situations exist, which they may do in this situation, we could increase the buffer. It's currently 100 feet. Be up to the board what they wanted to increase that to.
At your discretion.
Yeah, at our discretion.
Okay, thanks.
Also, curiously, if you look at the stratified drift aquifer overlay map on the town map, in the book, it's page 97, if anybody can look that up online. There's an isolated part of that drift overlay in this area. So that's another issue. Things to look out. The yield plan has been discussed. All yield plans have to be feasible and realistic. You can't just take a map of great variant topography, put it on a flat piece of paper, and then drop 180 houses on top of it, whatever your number is. It has to be realistic. The town does require that the roads cannot exceed 7% grade. You've got a lot of roads on your yield plan. And as mentioned by Ron, driveways cannot exceed 10%, particularly on the steep slopes. Due to the types of soils in this area also, that kind of segues into the steep slopes. There are 15 to 25% slopes, 8 to 25% slopes, and 8 to 15% slopes on this yield plan. Plan has to show that all of the roads cannot exceed the 7% and the 10% for the driveways. You have to show contiguous uplands that Ron had mentioned. Should also show the 5 stream crossings that have been mentioned. In the subdivision regulations 5.3.2 parentheses 7, you really have to show how you would do the crossings. Is it feasible? Is it engineering acceptable?
Well, that's an interesting question. So for the yield plan, are you expecting a engineered plan or a concept plan?
We're expecting one that I just mentioned that has been asked of other developers.
So a fully engineered plan.
Pretty much, yes.
That's ready to be permitted.
Right.
That
proves it's feasible and realistic. How else would you prove it to be feasible and realistic?
I don't know, because the ordinance specifically calls for a concept plan, not an engineered plan.
Well,
so I need clarification on that, please.
Sure.
That's the minimum requirement. We can ask for more when we're on. And in this case, your concept plan wants more study. We look at it and it just doesn't seem reasonable, feasible.
Well, no, that's fine. I mean,
if you
I totally 100% appreciate that. Just going forward, we need to know if the ordinance calls for a concept plan. You're saying it needs to be a fully engineered plan, not a concept plan. So we just need that. We just need that in writing and directed towards us.
I think one of the points we're making, the roads can't exceed 7%. How would you prove that without doing some engineering? Cut and fills and everything to take a 25% grade and reduce it to 7. You're going to have to do a lot of work.
So we absolutely need that clarification from you as we move forward.
Thank you. If you look at map 248, which is Young Road project that is open for anybody to see on the land use website, there's about 50 items that have been done over the last 17 months with this one project.
That'll be very helpful.
It took them 7 months to get a yield plan that we approved.
Well, that's why I wanted to see that plan, because we can cut right to the chase and give you what you need.
Right.
Well,
and that will show you some of the details if you look on the May 30th notation on that list of things. That will show you the yield plan that they developed.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really
and
appreciate
building
that.
envelopes are should be included on the plan.
Yeah.
That's
oh yeah, I can't wait to look at that plan.
And they'd be set 40 feet from the road for the yield plan. And we just are concerned on those steep slopes. How would you get to the house? You can't have the driveway go through the second floor. And that looked like some of these would happen. Do you agree?
We 100% agree that the yield plan needs to be refined as we move forward. We're really appreciative of all of your input. Thank you.
Right. Again, the number of units determined on the yield plan does not mean access to any area. In other words, the fact that we approve the yield plan does not we approve any roads or access to a particular site. It's only we're trying to get a count of the number of units that you can use on the subdivision plan.
That's absolutely understood, of course, yeah.
Okay. So,
we have no desire to build the yield plan, believe me.
No, I understand.
We have zero desire.
But the number you keep talking about is the 174, but until we do the yield plan and see what's viable.
No, we want to build something more along this line, not the yield plan.
Right, but the numbers you have are 174 on this thing.
We would never propose the yield plan as our final plan.
Okay. I think you missed my point.
The yield plan doesn't justify 100. I mean, the yield plan doesn't justify 174. It justifies way less.
Well, we'll get there. Absolutely. We'll get to that.
And that's the process to get there.
Yeah, we'll get to that process. Right. We'll go through that process with you for sure.
And again, the projects I'm citing, of course, is only 23 units. It took 7 months to get to that point. So.
Yeah, no, we want to do it correctly.
And they had to do an environmental assessment as part of that project.
Right. Yeah. If you go to the subdivision regulations, Article 7, there's a couple of pages from traffic studies, traffic impact. We've got environmental assessments. We've got hydrological studies,
We understand that those
wildlife.
can be required.
So,
Yeah, those are triggered usually at 20 lots, you know, you're way ahead of that.
yeah.
So at what point in the process are those formally required?
Well, you have, well, the planner will fill you in on that when they would like anything.
Well, I can answer
As-
if a quick answer.
Yep.
So, when you do a formal application, it's not necessarily due at that time, but if you know ahead of time that the board sounds like they will probably ask you for that. So that will be part of going through the application process. So it's not necessarily due at the formal application, but I don't think, I mean, this is
So it's
based on
further
the board.
Further conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, thanks. That makes sense.
Now, I know you've talked to the, you've probably seen the comments from the police and fire about reaching that back portion over the area between the two prime wetlands.
Yeah, I had a meeting
And
in
as
the
had been
fire chief's
mentioned,
office with him, that's correct.
there are
Yeah.
two 100-foot buffers there currently.
Yeah, we met in his office, that's correct.
And so when you get to doing the subdivision plan, we have to, you know, part of the determination will be, is that area accessible? And they're concerned also that there's only one point of egress to that 48 units of housing.
That's why we changed, I met with him, we actually changed the design to reflect his comments, so that the current design reflects the
So
fire
this-
chief's direct input on, he did not like the original design.
So
and
he
we
has
changed
two
it.
roads now?
Yeah,
Is that back
yeah,
area?
yeah, we added two road.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you like point to that on here? We can't see
Sure,
the
sure.
detail
Can't
very
really
well.
see it.
Yeah, sure, when I met with we didn't have this road here originally. I met with the fire chief, he said we needed that second road and to create a full loop here, and then start a point here. Originally, we only had one road, and so per his request, we added in a second road. Typically to address.
Have you seen that map?
I can't see, when you go further north there, where does that end up?
We only had one road, I apologize, when we first met with the fire chief, we only had one road there. He requested this second road here.
So
Okay.
if you follow, keep going up with your pointer. Keep,
Oh, we needed to get to an intersection here to satisfy the fire chief's concern.
okay. So then you have more housing further up there,
Yeah,
but that's a single road,
And
right?
he's okay with that.
He was.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is just his preliminary.
I'm
comment.
just giving you a.
These are not his final comments.
Right.
And I met with him as a courtesy, and he was very helpful. And he said, no, your plan does not work. So we went back to the drawing board and to address his concerns. But that's not a final approval from him.
Right.
But it does address his initial concerns. So we're very much aware of what he wanted from us.
'Cause it looks to me like it's still for 48 lots, it's still one way in and
Oh, right,
same road out.
right, into that back part, that's
Yeah.
correct. But that's,
Let's call that the island for the future. It's really an
well,
island.
I mean, we changed the design to address his access concerns. And that's why we changed the design specifically to meet his concerns. And we will,
So there are two roads.
yeah, we added the
Here,
second
but
road,
not-
that is
not
correct,
the
we
island.
added a second road.
Still one for the island.
yeah, it's still just one for the 48 lots.
Yeah, there's
What
a,
we're talking about. But-
yeah, that's exactly right, that's exactly correct. What you're describing is correct.
Right.
And that's what he asked us to do.
Public comment is closed. Public comment is closed.
Yeah. No,
It still looks to me like there could be, so if we had a washout on that road, so that's one of their concerns, that they can't get emergency equipment in there, that would be an issue on those 48.
That's not a final approval. That's not a final.
No comments from the audience, please. We're trying to
I want to clarify again, that was an initial conversation we had with.
direct all comments to the board.
Oh, sorry, that was an initial preliminary conversation with the fire
Right.
chief to review our concept plan. It is not a final approval
Well,
from the
nothing
chief.
is final. This is.
Yeah, so I don't want anyone to be confused.
Yeah.
You know, we had a good meeting. He gave us very good feedback, but it's not his final approval.
Yes.
But I think you're right, that's a wetlands crossing, so flood out. A light pole comes down for whatever reason, blocks it, you have no emergency access to the back.
Yeah.
You're allowed a dead-end road length, and you're allowed to do that.
Well,
Your ordinance
you're
allows
talking
that.
about 48 units in the back.
I mean, we will only do what the ordinance allows, and that, we're told this meets the ordinance.
Well, under the scattered and premature, access of emergency vehicles is one of the factors of scattered and premature statute that we have.
Mhm.
So we can certainly consider that as part of our
It looks like that's what he has.
Yeah, and we talked about the required amount of fire water towers in the back and how many we have to spread out back in there.
Well, it's not just fire, it's emergency vehicles for health. You know, if you got a medical emergency, is the doctor indicate, you got to get back there. You know, time matters.
It's a situation like on Old Settlers Road where the culvert was washed out and it isolated 5 houses.
And that's what we.
The great fear is, who knows what the future will bring to these wetlands? They could flood across this little isthmus to this island. And then what do you do? I mean, can't get fire, can't get anybody in there.
A tree comes down on it.
Trees come down, anything, yeah, I know.
Well, of course, I mean, and that could happen on any road in this town. A tree could fall or there could be a washout. That's always an important concern, always.
One road, right?
Well, existing roads we have no jurisdiction on, but new, we do.
Okay.
So,
No, there could be a situation where, as in where anywhere in the town, a tree falls or, I mean, there's things outside of our control, for sure.
Right. As we know, the yield plan will take a while to do, but I did have a couple of comments on the subdivision that you've presented.
Well, thanks, appreciate it.
I think I mentioned the 7 duplexes on Old Settlers. That's kind of a big impact. It looks like it may have also impact on the wetlands there. Probably will require also, for the 14 units, community water and community septic, and probably a 30,000 gallon cistern. Because you can only have, the cistern only supplies 1,000 drivable feet in any development. And these are all kind of scattered little groups around this various 600 acres. The westernmost lots in Canaan Back Road, you have 6 20,000 square foot lots. They'll require a cistern, and there are definitely buffer issues there too. In fact, some of the units are half in the buffer. The third one is the 41 20,000 square foot lots. They'll require a cistern, but they have serious slope and buffer issues. Number 4, 32 duplexes with 64 units on the front part toward Route 9. They will probably require a community septic and water, again, another cistern. Yep. And finally, on the so-called island, we have 48 units. They'll require a cistern, wetlands issue, buffer issues, slope issues, and access issues that, on my latest thing you suggested, only have one way in and out. So they will have to comply with the regulations. And we also have what we call Article 7 studies that some people have mentioned, some of the audience had mentioned, which require a lot of detail, including impacts on wildlife, sediment control, how you can control the sediment on these steep slopes, drainage and erosion, flood hazards, stormwater management plans, traffic impact analysis, in addition to the environmental impacts assessment, which have many subparts, including the hydrogeological study, impacts on people's wells in the neighborhood, and so forth. And I'm getting close to the end of my few notes. I have a bibliography here for you if you want. You got the 2001 Barrington Natural Resources Inventory, March 2009 Barrington Natural Resources Inventory of 84 pages, which is very good, has a lot of information, it might be helpful. 2019, it was updated, but that was 39 pages, less info. You should also look at the New Hampshire Forest Action Plan, 244 pages, for best management practices when logging. You have a proposal where apparently loggers went in and may have caused some damage because they didn't follow best management practices. Normally, loggers are exempt from getting permits and everything. Agriculture and loggers are exempt, but this still means they have to use the best practices. Barrington Conservation Commission.org, rather than the site, shows a co-occurrence map, which I gave you, but it shows all 7 of them in the town, and it highlights this one as the number 1. We have the New Hampshire Coastal Watershed Conservation Plan of 56 pages. That brings into effect the wildlife corridor that's been discussed. Wildlife Action Plan put out by the state They have appendix that shows the Barrington area, which would be helpful. And finally, as you show on here, one of your maps, the connect to the coast wildlife corridor, which comes from, if you follow it, if you actually look at the plan, it comes through Barrington by Stonehouse Pond, crosses Route 9, where they indicate it's a danger point, obviously, and goes into the wetlands and ends up going into Stratford up through Spruce Brook. And that also has appendices, so that's my few remarks, sorry.
I'd love to have those, thank you. I think I'm familiar with most of those, but it'd be
You can
great
watch
to
the
double check.
video. This is all video and everything anybody has said, including members of the audience.
Thank you, appreciate it, thanks. Or the minutes, yeah, I can look at the minutes, thank you.
Any members have any?
As I mentioned, I met with Selton, they specifically addressed the wildlife corridor, and we removed the homes in that area.
Sure.
To free up that corridor.
Right.
Yep. Oh, I had a question, you said you had a concern about the access to the back.
Well, I thought don't have a good view. Yeah. This shows one road going into this back area.
Okay. And that
Fire department and police have a problem with that.
They do.
They do.
Oh, we haven't seen anything in writing from them or comments, verbal or writing, so I'd love to hear from
well,
them.
if you
I'd be
look-
very happy to hear from them.
Yeah, they have the staff, it's in the staff report.
Okay, I'll have to look for that, I apologize.
It's online, if you can't find it.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it was, okay, sure. You had more comments? I just.
No, I'll follow up with Vanessa on that, thank you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
very
I
good.
apologize about that one.
Any more questions by the board? I'm going to open public hearing again.
No.
Just for, one gentleman had one comment. You're all done.
Thank you for your comments, I appreciate it, thanks.
No? You're fine. I'll close in couple of public comment. It's just all these people came. Yep. Come on up, Dan.
Daniel,
I just want everybody to be able to be heard. That's
Daniel,
what I
at
do.
330 Walk
Yeah, okay.
Taxpayer.
Yeah.
But this is
I
a
did.
design review, there's nothing binding here.
Yeah.
Correct. In March, we have an election, so we should refer to other plans in process, because it could change in the future.
No, yeah, clarify that.
This is to address the board and those in the audience. When someone comes in for a design review and there's pending zoning amendments, those folks that are coming in that had submitted an application before the notice of the public hearings for the zoning amendments went out, have a year from the date of end of design, so it'd be a year from tonight to submit a formal application with the current regulations as they are today. So they, but if it comes in the day after or whatever of today, they adhere to the new zoning regulations, or if they pass in this coming vote. Hope that
Closing
makes
public
sense.
comments.
Thank you.
May I speak or?
Oh, I thought you waved me off before.
No.
Well, if you want, stand up if you have a public comment. I'll grant it to you just because
Just to ensure
everybody.
that he knows, I talked to Rick Walker.
Yeah, we need a mic. Yep. You can walk around with the mic in your hand if you feel a need to.
Colin Williams, 94 Old Settlers Road. At the budget meeting on Saturday, I talked to Rick about this, and he said, no, that road going back.
We
is-
got his formal comments.
Okay.
Here. Yeah.
And there are also, I didn't highlight them on the maps,
Yep. we got
but
you.
there are a couple of flood control points because of the wetlands and the flow of the water that need to be taken into consideration if they're,
Let me ask you one question. I noticed there was a dam built. Your father built a dam?
he did not.
You did not build that dam.
That was the one in 1990 that he wanted to do the crossing over, and that got shot down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else while I have it open? But hearing none, closing public comment. Thank you very much, everyone.
Now I need a motion to close the design, please.
Oh, making a motion to close the design phase of this project. Is there a second? Ron seconded it. I did. John and Ron. John?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call. Masucci, aye.
Happy LOI.
Jesse, your eye.
Thank you very much.
You might sound on, nobody heard you.
Yeah, it's, if you need to resend that, I can. Because it came with,
5-minute break. Literally.
that's okay, it's probably just that, for the original meeting.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. Everybody's here for the next one.
But I can resend it. Okay, I'll write that down.
Okay. I should have brought that. Mine at the meetings? Oh, it's all right.
You know what? She could, never mind. Go ahead. I was gonna say, I would have seen it. Yeah. There's just some things I don't understand. I guess we're that, so I'm really some of the younger hair. Yeah, because we can get a copy.
Yeah, we're on the break.
Well, I think they should. Actually had their copies of this. Business copy, they use the comprehensively. And so it's a help, but it's weird. Like you want a calm coffee, that's caffeine, but it's supposed to do. I don't drink coffee. And I just keep in my day. Yeah. Marty's in the business. Yeah, I thought your road amendment was a good one. I almost voted for that. Just like, let's have to review so we can carefully done 50. On the side. Why do you think it's called? Oh, thank you. Why do you think it's because what? No, it isn't. We're not talking municipal waters. That is not the intent. No, the real intent is to create that open space and not have to be right. That's what I want to do. No, but part of this stuff is, that's infrastructure. Pardon? I see this as a really slow development. Pay off the line, the land, and then. Yeah, I just. I don't
Somehow they're gonna do something.
Well, then that's not.
So the money you take out, there's any way around it. I don't see that. That's the intent of it. You're helping. Help out the really identify.
On Green Street. It could be though. You could still, people may find that. I know you want to just buy it. If we could.
If the government body told you to buy it, you have authority to do it.
No, but that's the voters to do 2 bonds politically disastrous. Thank you.
Okay.
No.
You got public office down, but I'm here. I can't be greased.
That's why I took it.
There you go. I love it.
Come on, keep eating. Come on. All right. Here she is.
Thanks.
Now we gotta wait for Ron.
I know.
To the moon. Eddie's. New applications, number 1, 265-1-1A RC-24, SR owner Martin and Jacqueline Burby. Come forward, please. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, we're hoping to make this really simple, because we're only applying for a change of use.
Okay.
I wasn't quite sure what to bring because we had gone through.
No, you're fine. So the board receives your application and the staff report that I emailed to you guys as well. That's all the department heads look at it, and they're here for an added use for it. So if you just want to briefly describe what you intend to do, and we'll go from there.
You could have brought samples of the coffee. That would have helped.
I know, we should have.
her.
It's probably not legal to do that, but.
Well, what we're actually looking to do is change the use at 1203B, which used to be the shucking end of the building, and do a small scale roasting and grinding of coffee. We're currently, the only coffee we would be doing there is the stuff that we mail order. We have partnered up with Bernie Kosar, quarterback from Cleveland Browns. We do his coffee, that's all mail order. Little background on our coffee is Dr. Glenn Miller from UNH has a patent, and he's able to extract a heart-healthy antioxidant called resveratrol and infuse it in coffee beans. So we literally have a patent on it. And we also have it infused with vitamin D3. So as far as staffing, we'd be looking 4 to maximum of 8 people between the hours of 7 and 6 o'clock, 5 days a week.
Plenty of parking.
Plenty
'Cause
of
it used to be a
parking.
restaurant, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your application say 5 o'clock though, right?
It did, yeah, I wrote that.
You want to change that to 6?
I wrote, what did I write, 8 to 5?
Yeah.
And he said 7 to,
7 to 6.
yeah, so what do you
Just in
want?
case people are overtime.
Okay. Let's do that, yeah.
7 to 7, all right.
The only other question,
Sure.
I know, turn the mic. It seemed pretty straightforward. The only thing I had is you provided a print here that says proposed buildings.
Look at the date of that.
Yeah, Vanessa and I had looked, and I don't think there was some accurate updated from Davis. What was his name?
Yeah. Everett Davis, yeah.
I don't think it had been completely updated as far as what we could find.
From 1999?
The two don't match, that's my question.
Yeah, one's 1999 and the other.
The structures don't match either. So the shape doesn't match either,
Yeah.
so we need to know
Which is which?
which is the one.
It's the smaller one. If you look
Okay.
at the building from the
That
road.
was done
It's
in,
the one on the right-hand side, which
yep,
would be
I see
12.
Unit B, yep.
This is our
We have this one right here.
This is the community.
Yeah. And the building shape, as you can see, this one has a building here and here, and this one has a building with a different shape.
Is one the proposed and one the actual?
Well, you say you're changing the use, so the building would be the same, so.
building should
So we're just gonna use this little unit over
That's a
here.
1999 sign plan.
Okay.
Because this was the restaurant,
one
this is
sign?
where they shut.
This is where they
Okay,
use
so
it
what
to,
is this, I guess?
just
What's this?
record it.
This looks
Go
like,
ahead, sorry.
this is the parking.
Oh, okay.
So that's the, this is the front of the building, that's the leach field, this is the parking, and this is
Okay. And this one has, like I said, different shape, doesn't it?
yeah, because I don't know if this was prior to and this was updated, I'm not sure.
I mean, I think we need something that's.
I
So
have.
this one
Accurate.
is the recorded
This is the recorded one.
site plan.
Okay,
They used to
so
record
that's
it. They
the-
used to
the
not
real deal.
sign the site plan.
Okay.
Used to not sign the site plan, so that's the recorded.
2005.
Correct.
This one does not have the parking spaces or anything on it. Do we want that? I mean, it
Which
seems
I
to me-
think that's what, I mean, it says paved
It
parking.
says paved
But I
parking.
think that's why they showed this one.
And then we show the second one, and that was on the land use file that shows the parking.
That's a- that's a-
But if it's changed since, I mean,
I mean, this
that's
one-
what we could find in our
That's
files.
1205.
So that's also why she's asking a waiver from,
Okay.
the site plan as
Get a
well.
waiver.
But that's up to you
That's
guys
the,
to adjust.
Waiver.
This one shows 22 parking spaces. So it's a disconnect, pretty big disconnect.
Yeah.
I know how many.
Yeah.
Maybe this is accurate, interesting.
That's what I'm
Could be
saying.
accurate for the parking list, yeah. I'm wondering if they, when they went by 2005, they did a little bump out. If the numbers added. Maybe they-
We haven't changed it.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's exactly as it was.
Right. No, we're comparing this,
Yeah, it was all done by Davis.
okay.
Oh, so this, no, this will help. If this will help you,
Okay, so that's the same as
So
the
this is the
2005 one.
this is where, see this, this is where we want.
Unit B.
Well, the parking spaces are this. You drive by, it's the full length of the
Yeah, I
building,
remember when there was
front
a
and back.
restaurant, that looks.
Yes.
Right,
But
the
that
parking's
doesn't
in-
show that. This building. Parking on there. Have probably the information on two different, that gives it one drawing.
And there's nothing on there to clarify it on the bigger map.
Just the building.
You need to do.
Well, the waiver is.
They're utilizing. Okay, but they're utilizing.
Changing the footprint.
How it currently is now.
But the
It's not
boundary
like
one
it's
is
adequate.
Just the use.
And so they're also the reason for this is because we these folks to stop out that it was. You guys feel like you need something else.
You think the waiver will?
I
I'm
think
okay,
the
I'm
waiver.
okay not doing it.
Or if you wanted to confirm.
I mean, it looks like it's probably 20, and it's a
Yeah.
pretty big space.
I'm familiar with it.
I'm
It
okay.
looks exactly like that.
Yeah.
And if it's 18, it's still enough for
Yeah.
8 employees.
Right.
So.
The little one says it's paid. Delineate the space.
I mean, he could draw the spaces on the plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Right
okay
now?
with it. I'm okay with the sketch, but I wanna know what it will. Terms, I mean, if we're not proving this, we're not proving.
Well, I think we're approving this because it shows where the paved parking is, just doesn't show the lines.
Yeah.
It says paved parking and it's all outlined right here.
Yeah.
Say somebody's parking space. I mean, I'm okay if we're not.
There's more parking spaces and more
Yeah,
evergreen
it's
needs.
the same as when the restaurant was there.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
Hopefully we'll do better than them.
Yeah, I was wondering, at some point you're gonna, fail because you do have the restaurant.
Yeah, we're probably possibly at some point down the road, but we're basically doing we're doing the overflow because we're checking with another coffee roasting company out in Ohio that does 3 to 5 million pounds of roasting per year. To be able to go national with some of them, with our brand and stuff like that. So this is more for the mail orders.
The
People.
other part of the building, is that related to the?
Yes.
They using that?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
our office
yeah.
and showroom.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
You have to vote, you have to get. That's the first thing.
Second. Sorry, Donna.
Did she let you do second?
I go,
Well, negate it and let Donna do this.
Masucci, I second.
Whoa, Capello, aye.
Tessie, aye.
No negative.
Okay, just one. Hey, that part, leave the waiver into the record. Because the waiver from the applicant. Requirement to have all site plans shall be prepared. Here. First section, one drop. Site plan review regulations. Is there a motion to this waiver?
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver.
I second.
that. Oh, Donna
Oh,
seconded.
Ron.
I gave you the other one.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, after we read the waiver, we want to open public comment, just in case there's public comment on the waiver itself.
Open it to public comment. Anybody like to speak to this? Hands up again.
Daniel here.
Donna second.
Dan, go sit down.
I want to thank the board for working for small businesses in town. They're not rushing into town. So working with them, hopefully we'll draw more people in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comments? Anybody online?
Mr. Chairman, there's no one online.
Close the public comments.
Now, can you re-vote on the waiver, please?
Oh, read the waiver again?
Vote on the waiver.
Oh, vote on it. Let's vote on that waiver.
Oh,
Is it,
I was all ready to say second.
all right, I'll make a motion.
You could
I'll
say
make a
aye.
motion to-
Aye.
Capiello, aye.
That's your eye.
Okay, wait a minute.
Donna, she didn't second.
Speaking of point of order, like,
What are we doing?
what are we doing? Okay, who motioned to vote on the waiver? You made the motion.
And Donna seconded it. She ruled wrong on this, overruled.
Yes, and you're
Oh,
supposed to
I-
read this as well.
Supposed to say
Okay,
that.
the requirement to have all site shall be prepared and stamped by a professional engineer. Boundary monument shall be certified by a licensed surveyor per section 1311 and the site of the site plan review regulations.
And that's,
And why you
and then why?
suggest?
Oh, language to include the approval of the waiver by the board. Not granting the waiver would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and granting the waiver would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations. Okay, I'll make that motion to grant the waiver.
I second that.
What a clown show, huh?
Well, I'm glad we could lighten things up.
Yeah.
You have to, right?
Yeah.
Vote now?
And now you need a roll call vote, Mr. Chairman.
Let's do a roll call vote.
Masucci, aye.
Capiello, aye.
Just your eye.
Alan, nay.
Driscoll, aye.
Can I ask a question? Why are you nay?
I think we need more information, but it's passed, it's the majority.
Yeah, I know, I was just curious.
He's the parking thing.
Parking thing, I'll have to
He
get-
sees the discrepancy in the two plans, but,
Okay. All right, thank you.
okay.
Gotta
read
keep
the
people
NOD.
all happy.
We don't have to do balls, it's the majority out.
So we're good?
Not yet.
Gotta read the notice of decision. This
Almost,
is all-
almost. We're almost
That's my
there.
good pen.
Okay.
Blame the legislature for
She's
all
in the
this.
band at
This is reading the
7:30.
notice of decision for application case file 265-1-1A-RC-24-SR. This to inform you that the Barrington Planning Board at its February 6, 2024 meeting approved your application referenced above. The approval is for an added use to the property for packaging and delivering of services at 1203 Caleb Highway Unit Number 2. It was reviewed in accordance with the Town of Barrington Site Plan Review Regulations for non-residential uses and multifamily dwelling units, amended May 17, 2022, and the Barrington zoning ordinance amended March 28, 2023. The application has met all the town ordinances and regulations of the Town of Barrington. And at the February 6, 2024, the Planning Board meeting, the board approved the waiver for the requirement to have all site plans shall be prepared and stamped by a professional engineer. Boundary monitors shall be certified by licensed surveyor per section 3.1.1 of the site plan review regulations. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and not to exceed 8 employees. Any changes to the site used for the operation of the business will require reapplication and review by the planning board. Thank you and wish the best luck of your projects.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, we gotta vote, we gotta vote.
Oh, yeah, we gotta vote.
Now we need to vote.
I'm just anxious.
Vote on the notice of decision as written.
We need a
Or
motion
as
and a
read.
second.
And a vote.
Motion?
Are you making a motion?
No, you make, I want to do the second.
I move that we approve the notice
Notice of
of decision
Okay.
for file number 265-1-1A-RC-24-SR.
I second that.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call now. Who I am. I'm Masucci, aye.
Capiello, aye.
Just your eye.
Alan, aye.
Driscoll, aye. Somebody put something in the water tonight.
After break, something happened at break.
Thank you all.
Have these chocolates you get.
Thank you.
Good luck, good luck.
Bye.
It's the chocolates, that's it.
It was the chocolate.
Okay, next up on the agenda is 108-1-GR/HCO-24-3 lots. Owner Carol Bedford, Revocable Trust. Trustee is Hillary Parkhurst. Request by the applicant for a minor subdivision on a 3-lot subdivision at 479 Washington Street, map 108, lot 1, under 35.6 plus or minus acres in the general residential highway commercial overlay zoning district by Chad Brannon, PE professional engineer, Fieldstone Land Consultants, from Milford, New Hampshire. Okay, oh, thank you.
Thanks. Welcome. Thank you. My name's Chris Swiniarski. I'm an attorney at Divine Millimet representing Hillary Bedford Parkhurst. This is Dan Borowski, who works with Chad Brannon at Fieldstone Land Consultants. He's also one of the project engineers. For all that's happened tonight, I have to say what we have for you. It's probably not going to be nearly as exciting as what you've done thus far tonight, but I think we can still get through it and try to keep it serious. This property, it's 497 Washington Street. I think you're all probably familiar with it, Ayers Lake Farm and the campground. What we're proposing is basically a paper change. Nothing changes in real life. It's just going to be divided into 3 lots. So what we would end up with is a campground lot that would be 12.8 acres, separate house lot that would be 2.5 acres, and then a lot for the.
I'm sorry, I just have a quick question for you. This is a paperwork issue. I only have that, are you with Fieldstone or you're not with Fieldstone? Fieldstone's the only one that's allowed to talk for behalf of the lawyer, behalf of the applicant and the owners. That's the only thing that we have on file. We don't have on file that you can represent the owner.
Even if I'm her attorney?
That is, I guess, up to the board to decide, but we usually have forms for a reason to represent the applicant.
How come we have something different for the engineer?
Sorry, Chad's just gonna be here tonight, so.
Oh, same company though.
Yes,
Same
I'm a
company.
surveyor for Fieldstone.
So Fieldstone is the authorized agent to talk on her behalf. I mean, it's up to the board. It's up to your discretion. I'm just letting you know that we don't have him, the attorney, that he's acting as a representative for the applicant.
Well, to be honest, I was just about done.
I
didn't have a lot more to add. This is not a complicated project, so.
Public comment.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm a stickler for rules, but
That's fine.
it's up to your discretion. I just
All
want to
right.
let you know since we don't have authorization.
Okay. We'll do that.
Public comment, you can continue.
I don't have anything to add, but I might be able to answer some questions. So I'll
Okay.
stay.
I can intro this then. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My
Okay.
name is Dan Borowski. I'm a surveyor with Fieldstone Land Consultants. And I'm here tonight to present this 3-lot subdivision, 108-1, 97 Washington Street. Currently, the site is 35.6 plus acres with 7 feet of frontage along Washington Street. It's in the general residence zone and highway commercial overlay district, and the wetlands protection overlay district. In the zone, the minimum lot size is 80,000 square feet, with 60,000 square feet of non-wetlands and 35,000 contiguous upland square feet. 200 feet of frontage is required, and the setbacks are 40-foot front, 30-foot side and rear, 50-foot buffer from the wetlands. Proposed is a 3-lot subdivision. It was easily viewed on this inset. We're proposing separating basically the 3 existing uses on the lot. So about a 13-acre campground site on the west, 2.5-acre single-family residence lot in the middle, and about a 20-acre cabin lot on the east. All 3 lots meet the minimum lot size and frontage requirements for the zoning ordinance, and all 3 lots have access from their frontage along Washington Street. That's pretty much our proposal. Anything I should be able to answer your questions?
We had a letter from someone who's a resident on the lake wanting to know if septic systems were all in accordance in, not in the campsite, but for the cabins.
The septic system, well, it's got it has a construction approval number for the existing leach field there, so it's on through DES.
So it's one leach field for all of the cabins?
one retail here. There's a little bit of
Now, you had construction approval. Did you get operation approval? They're in the midst of being built. Okay.
Oh, okay. I think that was generally the guy's comment. And I guess comments were made that the cabins will continue to be rentals for a while.
Yes, there's certainly no change in that. with this
No use
proposal.
change, okay.
Yeah. But simply just subdividing into 3 lots, cabins, the residents.
The only question I have, I wouldn't say an issue, question is, the side access versus the 202 access, that's a ZBA thing? Is that for us to get into, Vanessa, or?
Yes, so I have been in contact with Chad because it was the primary contact for this application. I had asked him for that lot where the house is, there is 2 access points, one off of 202 and the other one off of the campground, I guess. So the applicant or yourself, I guess, needs to confirm which is their frontage because I was not given a clear answer, so I put that in the staff report as well as the notice of decision that they need to properly identify which is their frontage. If their frontage is not going to be off of 202, even though they have 2 access points, that doesn't really matter, I guess I should say. It should be what their frontage is. So if they're proposing that their frontage is off of 202, they do not need ZBA approval, but if they're still considering their frontage off of I don't know what you would call it. I don't know if the other, here, let me show you.
It's off 202.
So all the access comes off of 202. This lot does, and this.
So right here, access off of this. But this is when you're making a lot.
But that all comes in here, this lot.
And no, which is the.
A little lost, because you can get to here from here, right? As you drive up, easement.
It's there.
Was not me. So I brought that up to the board.
Yeah, the frontage is where the vehicle access is from.
Yes.
So that defines your frontage.
Yes, so just on the final plan, it should be labeled that.
We can confirm that on the plan.
Yeah.
The final plan.
We can have
Okay.
that. to the final plan.
Gonna be from the side?
The applicant is saying that it's gonna be off of the 202.
In what class is that road though? That,
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's just a driveway cut, but
Yeah.
that's all I,
They're all existing already.
but they are making a new existing lot. So they need to adhere to the regulations for that.
have driveway regulations that must be met if you're subdividing.
I believe the road agent, highway agent, had no comment, and no problems with this proposal.
Let's see, road agent.
Yes, he's coming off that other road. Us.
Right. Road agent says no concerns.
Yeah, but the state might get involved with these other ones that are now dirt. Not if we make it, not if they're subdivided.
I think they only care about access. So in fact, subdividing, I don't think they care.
No concerns.
We care.
128, 24.
Right. They gotta meet the driveway and the road requirements with, that stuff. So, I mean, if they're gonna do that, they need to meet the requirements of driveway and road.
Correct.
Pardon?
Correct.
Correct, yeah. We have standards for road access and driveway access, that if you're subdividing, you're gonna meet
Yes.
a certain width, and then you got shoulders, 2-foot shoulders, 16-2 driveways, and it's the road.
Or we're just doing a driveway. We're not creating a road for the subdivision.
It's not public comment.
We're just doing a driveway, we're not creating a road for the subdivision.
That's the way to do it.
Okay. All right, well, still gonna meet driveway requirements.
It does it? Does it meet the?
Yes, my knowledge.
16-2 and 2?
16 feet wide?
2 foot.
I could probably ask,
I can
you can
double
ask
check
them
that.
for
I-
detail.
Well, then go to
I think we're gonna need to
I'll
have
go to the
information on
ZBA.
that.
Or go to the ZBA
Make
if they
sure.
don't want that.
Yeah, if you want to keep it as is, you'd have to go to the ZBA. Just, variance, that's all. Can we,
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
well, I was going to say, I mean, I'm familiar with that, and it's trying to squeeze 16, 2 and 2, and disruptive part of that here. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm suggesting, maybe getting variance.
It's their choice.
Yeah.
We can meet the driveway requirements, but,
Okay.
We're not telling them what to do. We're telling
No,
them
I know.
what they have
I
to
give
do,
them
what they have to
options,
do.
that's all.
yeah,
So-
appreciate that.
So I think we need a little more.
Not if you want to see.
Although, the road's gotta be surveyed to make sure it reaches it.
Spencer, just wondering what more information you would need on the driveway, like a full driveway design?
No, just, there's minimum width, and it's got 2-foot shoulders. Gotta be a flare too or something.
At 202, that has to
We
be
have
per
driveway
road.
standards, it's gonna meet the driveway standards. That's gonna be the driveway you gotta meet.
Okay.
Like providing the detail.
So you gotta make sure
That can be a
it
condition.
meets all the requirements.
Could
Or,
that be
Up to
a
them,
condition
it could be.
of approval, a compliant driveway?
or get a variance.
Well, we're not, you could go the other way and get a variance. I mean,
Yeah, and keep it the
I
way it
think
is.
You need to make a decision which way you wanna go.
We would
And then we
rather,
can tell you what we need to
we-
do.
if we need an approval tonight, we'd rather, upgrade the driveway if it needs to be upgraded to meet your driveway standards.
Yeah, and that should be a condition.
That could be a condition of
Conditional
approval, like that, we would obviously keep the same access
Precedent.
point.
That's up to you. Like to see this. Based on prior.
I'm okay with the precedent, make sure that.
Okay, I'll just say, add the wording to that.
Yep.
I'll go with that. There's the decision.
Sixteen two, right? I'm not sure. Right?
Yeah.
Regulations that you all just approved, it said a residential driveway should have a minimum width of 10 feet and a maximum width of 18 feet. So just,
Well, that's the
Not to
driveway
exceed-
regulations.
right, but that's what he's.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
his
what we
driveway
want.
is
Yeah.
10? Oh, I thought 16.
No, yeah,
thought it
the
was
road
12.
would be.
Those girls.
What is the width of the current one? Do you know that?
Confidence that,
It was a road, I think. Private road.
So all unpaved residential driveways must include paved aprons for a minimum distance of 16 feet from the edge of the road to paveway. That might be what you're thinking, maybe, but, and the grade shall not exceed 10%. Of less, yeah, or maintain a negative grade of less than 2% till it's beyond the ditch line.
We're right around 15 feet and out.
Yeah, that was pretty minimum. It's 15, I think, right? So you're well within the boundaries.
We're all good. Yeah, with it. As long as you meet, we can put in a requirement precedent that you have to meet that.
Understood.
Oh, they're from lunch.
As fun as us.
I do have. For the, offer to.
Add that to the plan.
Unless you guys have more.
We're waiting on the chairman.
Oh, the chairman's got to wake up here.
They even looked at me. Trying to help you out, man.
All right.
Make a motion to accept this application as complete.
I second that.
Roll call?
Open public comments. Oh, we got roll call first and then.
Suchi, aye.
Capello, aye.
Tessie, aye.
Howard, aye.
Driscoll, aye. Open in public comment on this. Any comments by the public? Anybody online? Oh, Dan.
I don't know.
Daniel, yeah,
Always remind to the-
334 Old Common Turnpike. I understand you have a memorandum with DOT, and that's a state road. I don't know why you guys are talking about
We gotta
that.
get a DOT.
And then the access points, I thought we only allowed one access point unless you had a corner lot on two streets.
Yeah, they determined that their frontage and their access will be off of 202, and it's not gonna be off the other side. So they're only gonna have that one access point.
And since this is new, the roadways, has the fire chief made a comment on the width throughout?
There are no comments or concerns from the fire department.
All right, thank you.
Some public comments.
That's good. Jump right in. Would you like, yep, please speak.
Yeah. My name's Chris Swiniarski. I'm not a resident of Barrington. I am actually an attorney representing the applicant. There's no DOT permit required for an existing driveway, not for this residential home. So if for some reason there isn't, someone can point that out to us, we'll confirm it. But to my knowledge, I'm about 99.9% sure not going to be any.
The house from 18 something, right?
This house was here before the road was here.
Yeah.
Once again, they're creating a new lot.
So,
If DOT determines they don't need it,
right,
not
this contact district.
Exactly.
Contact District 6.
Yep.
Just,
So if it's not needed, it's not needed, but
right.
it's off.
And then the only other clarification, there are no new roadways being proposed here at all.
Yep.
This is all existing, no real life changes happening here. This is lines on paper. That's it. That's all I have.
Just for once you get a email or something from Parkhurst.
I have a text from her. She said she was going to bed. Otherwise, I would have had the email
that's
to you
fine.
about 5 minutes ago.
Just some paperwork that they can add to the.
I will get
file.
that for you. I
Thank you,
promise.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm closing public comment. Ready to read the notice of decision? Are you still working on it? Okay.
If you want to start, I can.
Oh, I can start reading off my copy.
Just want to make sure I read it.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Notice of decision. Dear applicant, this is to inform you that the Barrington Planning Board in February 6, 2024 meeting conditionally approved your application and referred to above, referenced above. The application has met all the town's ordinance and regulations in accordance with the town of Barrington, New Hampshire subdivision regulations amended August 1st, 2023, and the Barrington zoning ordinance 28th, 23. All the precedent conditions below must be met by the applicant at the expense of the applicant prior to the plans being certified to the planning board. Certification of the plans is required prior to commencement of the site work or recording of any plans. Once these precedent conditions are met and the plans are certified, the approval is considered final. Please note, all of the precedent conditions are not met within 12 calendar months to the day, February 6, 2025. The board's approval will be considered to have lapsed unless a mutually agreeable extension has been granted by the board. Conditions precedent. Number 1, add the following plan notes. A, add the total number of 46 campsites to the purpose of the plan. B, note identifying which plans are to be recorded and which are on file with the town. Update note 10. This plan, 12, did I say 10? Sorry. This plan shall be on file with the town of Barrington's Land Use Department and recorded with the Stratford County Registry of Deeds. Number 2, add the following to the plan. Label the maintenance shed / pump house on the proposed lot 108-1-2. B, remove notation of dry for the contiguous uplands and specify soil types for each proposed lot. Item C, proposed lot 108-1. Label the frontage access of the subdivision plan showing the driveway. D, zoning districts on all properties. E, owner's signature. F, wetland scientist signature. G, professional surveyor signature. Item 3, all lots to take access from their frontage per Town of Barrington zoning ordinance, Article 4, Table 2, Table of Dimensional Standards, and Section 4.1.2. 4, identify island site on the plan with its site number. 5, lot 29 needs to be labeled on the proposed lot 108-1-2. 6, final subdivision plan submittal must have a clean copy, no topography, for recording with the Stratford County Registry of Deeds, and a set of clean copy and topography plans for the case file. Item 7, subdivision recording fees are to be paid. 7A, exact recording fee and return shipping to be determined by the Stratford County Registry of Deeds, parentheses. Payments will need to be payable to the Stratford County Registry of Deeds, parentheses. The town staff will provide the cost when the plans are submitted to the planning board chair. And B, L-chip, $25 payable to the Stratford County Registry of Deeds. Item number 8, certificate of monumentation installation submitted to the town. Item 9, all final submittals, all outstanding comments to the applicant, town planner subdivision regulations shall be addressed. Item 10, prior to obtaining board signature, the applicant shall submit 2 full-size copies of the subdivision plans and 1 11x17 copy and a PDF/A format file. Supporting documents is required with a letter explaining how the applicant addressed the conditions of approval to the land use office. Planning board chair shall sign and date all plans meeting the conditions of approval. The board.
Just end at that when you're done ending. I'll pick up.
Oh, okay. The board shall endorse 2 full-size paper copies of the subdivision plans for the records and 1 11x17 copy of the PDF/A format file format for the case file folder.
Driveway's gonna be off the 202, so they cannot use this for access. John mentioned, John Hutchinson.
Can I back this up?
Because that would be two. Yeah.
No, they want to come on off the 202,
Okay,
so they don't get the, so they don't have to go to ZBA to get the variance.
So.
So we
Is there a road
So you're
name
gonna
for
close
this
that road
road?
off? On
Gonna have
two oh
to-
two?
Your access will not be off of here anymore. Is there a camp road name for that, or what would you best label that as? That way. What's that? Where the campsites are, like where you enter in,
Yeah, there's no road there.
maybe not off the campground entrance.
Yeah, okay. That
There's
sounds
no
good.
access to the driveway.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was trying to think.
Okay.
There's a field, money field, there's no access.
Yes.
Current resident there.
It's a clerical question.
So we continue.
Okay,
with
yeah, a
conditions
couple
precedent.
notes for conditions precedent, that all driveway regulations are to be met, per figure 4.8 and 12.3 driveway access and design standards of the subdivision regulations. Just to have NHDOT verify the access off of 202, if they need a driveway permit or not, from them, and then there will be no access off of the campground road into the house lot. On lot,
That would
proposed lot
108 dash.
108-1.
-1.
Yep.
108-1, okay. Is there any others that the board feels to add for that
Does
portion?
that cover it all?
Okay.
I think so.
And then for general and subsequent conditions, so I need to strike from the general and subsequent conditions we looked up today that there's no current use in the property since
The
it
whole
is a
site
campground.
Commercial, right? Everything is.
The way, I don't know how I don't have that access. It's not in current use. Right.
So it couldn't be. commercial.
Right. So I just need to strike that. And then the 46 campsite spots and 10 cabin sites are to remain, no increase in number. Street view signage shall be 911 compliant and approved by the town of Barrington. And E911 addressing for the lots will be established. And that's done after your plans are recorded. And that works through Tiffany in the administration office, just to let you guys know. And that is it. That's all I have.
Motion to grant the notice of decision. What do we have to do?
I move that we approve the notice of decision for the 3-lot subdivision at 497 Washington Street, map 108, lot 1.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second it. Thank you.
Roll call.
Masucci, aye.
Capello, aye.
Tessie, right?
Allard, aye.
Driscoll, aye.
Good luck. Thank you.
We got on, what else do we have here? Anybody have any business or do you want to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Number 7, adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Second by Donna Masucci. Roll call.
Masucci, aye.
Capello, aye.
Tessie, right?
Aye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
9 o'clock, not so bad.